What impact will Michael Kemer have on the future of the Iowa Hawkeyes? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling. And Michael Kemer announced on Instagram that he will be returning for a 6-year of eligibility to the Iowa Hawkeyes. The 174-pound wrestler will be wrestling next year. The NCAA granted that eligibility, and it's not necessarily unforeseen considering the fact that he lost out on what was then his junior year due to a shoulder injury, but now we officially have confirmation that he will be returning. Now, we have to look at a couple things here. One, who the Iowa Hawkeyes would have had at 174 pounds if Kemer hadn't returned. Who is at the 174 pounds next year, and how big of an impact this is for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, the first thing is Michael Kemer had an impressive season, bumping up from 157 to 174 pounds and taking out who was the number one ranked wrestler at the time, Mark Hall, who nobody really thought that Kemer could beat him, except for, of course, the Iowa Hawkeye fans. But he came out, he stunned him in a big upset. He ended up becoming 15-1 on the year, ended up losing to Mark Hall his last match of the season at the Big Ten Championships. He also had impressive wins over Dylan Liddy of Purdue, Devin Skatska of Minnesota, and Mikey Labriola of Nebraska. Now, what's great for Kemer is that a couple of those guys are seniors and will be graduating, so he won't see them in the field next year. But now, the thing is, if Kemer hadn't wrestled this year, who did the Iowa Hawkeyes have at 174? Did they have anybody good enough to step into the lineup? And this is important for the future of the Hawkeyes. So, first of all, the backup on the team right now is Miles Wilson, who is a two-time Colorado state champion. He will be a junior next year. This season he was injured, and he wasn't going to beat out Michael Kemer for that starting spot at 174 anyways, but that could have been who they wrestled next year had Kemer, for whatever reason, not received this year of eligibility. Now, the other things that could have happened, you could have seen Nelson Brands bump down to 174 from wrestling 184 this year. I mean, he wrestled 165 pounds his freshman year. You could have seen him bump down, and, you never know, you could have seen Assad bump down if the Hawkeyes needed that to happen. Now, the big guy and why this is massive for the Hawkeyes is that the Hawkeyes have Patrick Kennedy coming in to 174 pounds next year. He will be a freshman. And who is Patrick Kennedy? Well, he's one of the top-ranked recruits in the entire country. He's the top 3 recruit in the entire country, number 1 at 174 pounds, and coming into college, which is massive. He's a 4-time state champion out of Minnesota. So if Kemer, since he is wrestling next year, that'll give Kennedy a year to train, to redshirt, and then come into the following year and have a solid backup, a solid new guy for the Hawkeyes. Now, who is at 174 pounds on the college scene next year? Like, who could Michael Kemer run into when he's making his national title run? Well, these are some of the guys who are at 174 pounds, and you have to remember that last year, of course, was an Olympic redshirt year, so a couple of these guys they weren't on the scene last year, and we don't know right now who is going to take another Olympic red shirt since the Olympics have been postponed due to the coronavirus. But here's who we have. First of all, the big guy at the top, is Miles Amin. Now, he's not going to get that number 1 rank at the beginning of the season. That's likely going to be Michael Kemer. I mean, there's not really any arguments about that. Miles Amin is a senior out of Michigan. He was wrestling for San Marino. That's the country that he's wrestling for when he's wrestling on the world teams in the Olympics. He is a 3-time All-American out of Michigan. Now, this is big. He does already have a win over Mikey Labriola. His recent losses whenever he was wrestling in college were to Zahid Valencia and Mark Hall. So really, I mean, 2 national champs he has losses to, and he's a 3-time All-American. He's going to be a tough guy for Kemer to go up against. The next guy, you have Mikey Labriola, had a solid season for Nebraska. He'll likely end up being the number 3 ranked wrestler in the country coming into next year. A couple of those things can bump around, but likely that's going to happen. He was number 8 at the end of the year, but because there's so many guys graduating, so many seniors graduating at this weight, it gives some guys the bump up. Of course, you have Caleb Romero out of Ohio State, who his only losses were to seniors and to Mikey Labriola. So that's probably why he'll end up being like the number 4 ranked wrestler. Then you have guys like Anthony Valencia, Chris Foca, who is a freshman at Cornell, Matt Feinsilver, another Olympic redshirt, and Carter Starachi, the true freshman out of Penn State, who actually won the Southern Scuffle this past year. And I'm excited to see how Kemer stacks up against these guys personally, considering the fact that nobody really knew what to expect out of Kemer at the beginning of last season because of him bumping up from 157 to 174. But now that we see how strong he is, how dominant he's been this entire season, that will be exciting. Now, it's also exciting for the Hawkeyes because of this, that Iowa now has 9 guys returning to their lineup. And I will have the lineup preview coming out in just a few weeks, but now it's exciting to see that the only guy graduating is Pat Lugo. Iowa will have so many top returners, top ranked returners coming in. Kemer will likely be number 1, and really you could see so many guys, 7 or 8, 5, 6 of these guys in the top 3 seed, with a couple of the Olympic redshirts coming in. You don't know what exactly to expect, but you got Spencer Lee, Austin DeSanto, Max Murin, or Jaden Ironman at 141, 149, Caleb Young, Alex Marinelli, Kemer, Assad, Warner, and Cassiope. To be honest with you, I'm excited to see how this happens, what's going to happen next year. The implications are big for the team race and really put Iowa on top as the leaders coming into 2021. But as we know, anything could change. And if you're interested in learning more about wrestling topics and what's going on in the world of wrestling, make sure that you check out this video right here.